Welcome back to On the L, where strategy meets accountability and leaders learn what it truly takes to elevate. I'm your host, LaTaye Davis, leadership strategist and founder of Elevate Leadership Partners. And on this podcast, we don't just talk about leadership, we break down what it actually takes to lead in environments where expectations are high, accountability matters, and performance is not optional. Now, before we get started with this episode, I want to tell you to go ahead and grab your notebook and your pen or pencil so that you can take notes to elevate as a leader. Today, we're on A, assess performance regularly. Because let's be honest, performance reviews should never be the first time someone hears about their performance. But in many organizations, they are. So let's use Lindsay. Again, she is our podcast avatar. She works all year. No feedback, no real direction, no correction. Then evaluation time comes. And suddenly she's being told what she did wrong, what she should have done differently, and what didn't meet expectations. That's not an assessment, friends. That's surprise. And I even want to share an experience that I've had. And I've had it a number of times where you know, let's say my mid-year review was due in October. Let's say October 2020. And I got my mid-year review in February of 2021 with my annual review due March 2021. You tracking? Again, let's just say my mid-year review was due in October, which it was. I didn't get that mid-year review until February of the next year, with my annual due that following month. How is that setting anyone up for success? How is that fairly giving anyone a true representation of how they're performing, and then providing the worker with the opportunity to correct any deficiencies in preparation for their annual review? That's not an assessment. That's a surprise. And surprises destroy trust. Because now Lindsay is asking, why wasn't this communicated earlier? And what I've experienced is individuals who provide evaluations like this, or like the one that I spoke of, really get offended when you question backdating evaluations. So that mid-year evaluation that was due in October, I was expected to backdate it to October, even though it was being given to me in February of the following year. That's not fair. And we've got to tighten that up, because strong leaders do things a lot differently. They assess performance consistently. They give real-time feedback, document performance, adjust early, not late. And this is really important. And I also think that when we as leaders are assessing performance, it is imperative that we are fair and impartial in those assessments. And a lot of times, personal biases, feelings, assumptions, thoughts are getting in the way of exceptional workers being able to move up or even being able to be given a fair review because the reviewing authority has an issue. We've got to be careful. We have got to be very, very careful and mindful as leaders of what we're using to evaluate individuals because it can ruin an organization quickly. We need to understand that an assessment is not an event. It is an ongoing leadership responsibility. And I think leadership has gotten skewed a little bit. Leadership is not about your personal beliefs. Leadership is not about who you think should or should not be somewhere. Leadership is not about nepotism, favoritism. And so we've gotten away from what true, impartial, difficult leadership is. Some people walk into difficult leadership situations though because they want the ultimate outcome. That's another episode. But in this episode, I want to ask you, would your team be surprised by their evaluation or prepared for it? Because when feedback is delayed, performance suffers and trust breaks down. And somehow, I think leadership gets confused when trust is flailing or non existent in departments, teams, organizations. There's this undying loyalty that leadership is being guided by, which it can be counterproductive depending on who benefits from that loyalty. And I've always said that if you're doing things right, not perfect, but right, loyalty comes as a byproduct of that. And so it's very important that when you're assessing performance, you're fair and impartial. That's a whole nother training in itself, okay? But if this episode added value, share it with another leader in your network and comment below. Let me know how you dealt with issues or dealt with assessments that weren't given timely and you were asked to backdate one maybe. How did you deal with that? And once you don't want to do that, you're then deemed and labeled as difficult. So how do you deal with that? If you're ready to strengthen leadership, improve accountability, and create healthier, higher performing environments inside your organization, connect with Elevate Leadership Partners to learn more about consulting, leadership development, workshops, and speaking opportunities. You can also join me every second Wednesday of the month at 7 p.m. Central for Elevation Lab, a live conversation centered on leadership where we discuss workplace culture, accountability, communication, organizational performance, and the real challenges leaders are navigating today. Because strong organizations are built intentionally. Set the standard. Lead with intention. Elevate with impact. Now make sure you go and listen to the other 2 episodes in this series and listen to the upcoming episode. I'll meet you there.